Hello, this is Kathleen Smith, Chief Outreach Officer for ClearedJobs.Net, a veteran-owned firm. When we're talking to transitioning personnel, they don't quite understand the difference between prime contractors and subcontractors. And knowing the difference between a prime and a subcontractor is really important when a transitioning veteran or transitioning military personnel are trying to understand the landscape. So can you go into a little bit the difference between prime and subcontractors?
Yeah, sure. So the prime contractor is, I think most people really, that's the one they do understand is the prime. That's pretty easy. It's like the lead dog. It's the big company that has the real responsibility. They have the responsibility for putting the right people in the right seats to do whatever job the government's asking them to do. So if you're working as a prime contractor, there's a lot of stability there because you're working with the company that's kind of driving the whole train. But there's also something called subcontractors, and subcontractors are usually smaller companies that work kind of for the prime. And sometimes this is because the prime needs that kind of help, because sometimes they need to have some specific skills that they couldn't maybe offer in their natural talent pool. But a lot of times the subcontractors are there because the government requires it. The government's got some rules that help to encourage small businesses. They do things to help encourage, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, lots of different things. So sometimes they're kind of forced to be that to partner with those to help those organizations. So what that means from the job seeker side is that if you were working for a subcontractor, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it means that you have to not only get hired by the subcontractor, but you also then have to be kind of okayed by the prime as well.
And another question that we frequently get in the community is understanding the differences, the pros and cons of working for a small company versus a large company.
Mhm.
Because the government contracting community is made up of small companies and large companies, and there are differences working for those. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, and this is something that I think this is a big. I don't think it's a misconception for veterans. I think it's something that a lot of veterans just don't even know about. It's not a conception at all. When you're in the military, you kind of think that all government contractors are the same. You just look at that person over there doing the work and say, oh, she's a contractor. But you don't necessarily think about who does that person work for. So you might know the big names, the General Dynamics, the Leidos, I could go on and on about the big ones, but there's so many smaller businesses as well in the government contracting world. And again, the pros and cons, the answer is yes, there's pros and cons to both. It just depends on what you're looking for, what kind of person you are. At a large company, some of the pros are they might have lots of work for you. They might have a lot of stability because they're going to continue to have lots of contracts. But some of the cons are they might be very regimented. You might have a job and you need to stay in your lane because they've got lots of other people that are doing other jobs. Whereas the smaller companies, they've got more flexibility. They might have more flexibility in pay. They also might have a lot more flexibility in professional development and saying, look, we need you to do this, but we want you to also do these other things. So it really comes down to, understanding that big and small companies have got different cultures. Neither one is right or wrong, but the trick is, as a veteran, to find out which one is a good fit for you because, not all veterans are the same. We know that.
Great advice. So understanding the differences between a small and a large company is really helpful when we are developing our strategy of which companies that we're going after to apply. So Bob, thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to chatting with you again.